The Mystery of the Old House. As night fell, dark clouds blanketed the sky like a thick quilt. In the Alden family's kitchen, Henry, Jesse, Violet, and Benny gathered around the table, their eyes lighting up at the news from their grandfather. "I just received a strange letter," grandfather said mysteriously. "An old friend of mine found something unusual in an ancient house, and he thought you might want to investigate." Benny, the youngest and most energetic sibling, was instantly excited. "Is it treasure, Grandpa? Or maybe a ghost?" Henry smiled. "Benny, it's not always about treasure or ghosts. Sometimes it's just a mystery that needs to be solved." Jessie, the smart and practical sister, placed a hand on Benny's shoulder. "But that doesn't mean we shouldn't check it out, right?" Violet, the shy but sensitive sister, looked out the window into the darkness. "Where is that house, Grandpa? Does it look scary?" Grandfather nodded, handing them an old, hastily written letter. "Dear Alden, I've discovered a secret room in the ancestral house marked with mysterious signs. This room has been sealed for decades, but I've finally found a way to open it. I need your help to uncover the truth inside. Sincerely, James Reynolds." "The old house is not far from here," Grandfather added. "It's deep in the woods, just a short distance beyond the nearby village. It's said that it was once a gathering place for adventurers long ago." Benny shouted, "Let's go, Grandpa." "Let's go." Jessie stood up, looking serious. "We should be well prepared. Bring flashlights, a compass, and some snacks. It could take a while." Henry looked at his brother and smiled. "Don't forget your notebook, Benny. You need to write down everything you see." The four Alden siblings quickly packed their gear, eager for a new adventure. The darkness outside grew thicker, but for the children, it was merely the beginning of an exciting journey. If you're curious about the story, hit the subscribe button on TMI Stories. The Journey into the Woods. After a night of careful preparation, the four Alden siblings began their journey into the forest to reach the old Reynolds family house. As the sun began to rise, they were ready to set off, backpacks on their shoulders, flashlights in hand, and hearts filled with excitement. Benny happily skipped ahead, saying, "I hope we find big secrets, like a treasure chest or a map leading to long-buried riches." Jessie laughed. "Benny, you always think about treasure, but not every mystery involves gold and silver." Henry looked around the dense forest. "We need to stay alert. It's easy to get lost here, especially when the path becomes unclear." Violet whispered, "I feel a chill. It's like someone is watching us." Jessie glanced at Violet reassuringly. "It's okay. Maybe it's just the wind blowing through the trees." However, the eerie feeling followed them throughout the trail. The rustling leaves, distant hoots of owls, and the unusual silence made Benny a bit uneasy. I really think someone's watching us," Benny mumbled. Henry turned back, looking more serious. "Benny might be right. Let's keep going, but be cautious." After a while, they arrived at a mysterious old house, its walls covered in moss and its roof hidden beneath layers of vines. The large, wooden gate, overgrown with ivy, looked like it had been abandoned for ages. Jessie carefully pushed the creaky door open. "Watch your step, Benny. Be careful." As they stepped inside, the dark and cold space seemed to echo the mysteries the house held. In the living room, an old armchair, an abandoned fireplace, and a long-stopped clock created a spooky scene. Benny tiptoed closer to the fireplace and found a strange object. "Look, everyone, it's an old key." "This key might unlock the secret room that Mr. James mentioned in his letter," Jessie said. Holding the key in his hand, Henry felt a surge of excitement. "What will we find here? An unsolved mystery?" Violet clutched her backpack tightly. "I have a feeling we've just begun a challenging adventure." The secret room. After Benny found the old key, a new wave of excitement filled the four Alden siblings. Holding the key in his hand, Henry looked cautiously around the house. "If there's a key, there must be a lock to open," he said with certainty. Jessie observed the large wooden doors surrounding the old living room. "Let's try each door to see which one leads us to the secret room," she suggested. Benny excitedly ran toward the nearest door. He tried to open it, but it was locked from the inside. "Maybe this is it," Benny exclaimed, his eyes shining. Henry approached and tried the key. The door clicked and slowly creaked open. The room inside was pitch dark and seemed abandoned for years. Violet shivered, clutching Jessie's hand. "Should we go in?" Jessie smiled to reassure her sister. "We're in this together. There's nothing to fear." The four siblings stepped into the room, guided by the small beams of their flashlights. On the walls were old paintings of past adventurers, faded maps, and dusty shelves filled with ancient books. Benny curiously looked at a large wooden table in the middle of the room. "Look, there's an old journal," he said, picking it up and brushing off the thick layer of dust on the cover. Henry opened the journal, flipping through its yellowed pages. The handwritten notes revealed the story of a mysterious adventurer named Thomas Reynolds, James Reynolds' great-grandfather. According to the journal, Thomas had once discovered a rare black gemstone called the Raven's Eye. But it was stolen in a mysterious heist right in this very house. Jessie glanced at a large painting of a black raven on the wall. Maybe the gemstone is connected to this raven, she speculated, and that's probably why this house is called the Raven's Nest. Violet carefully scanned the room and spotted a hidden iron box under the table. "Guys, I found something!" she exclaimed. Henry and Jessie quickly joined Violet. The box seemed heavy, secured with a large, complicated lock. Benny tried the old key, but it didn't fit. "Looks like we need to find another key," Jessie said, "and that might be our next clue." Benny pondered. "I feel like someone doesn't want us to find this gemstone. But I'm not scared." The group stood up, determined to continue their quest to uncover the mystery of the Raven's Eye. But as they were leaving the room, a small sound suddenly echoed from the corner, startling everyone. "What was that?" Violet asked nervously. Henry looked around and said seriously, "Maybe we're not the only ones here." If you're curious about the story, hit the subscribe button on TMI Stories. The strange sound. The four Alden siblings stood still, their eyes fixed on the dark corner of the room. The sound they had just heard wasn't the wind or the creak of old furniture. It was a peculiar noise, like a whisper from somewhere distant. It could be the wind, Jessie tried to calm Violet, though she felt a hint of anxiety herself. Benny, trying to be brave, said, "We need to find out where that sound is coming from. It could be a clue leading us to the Raven's Eye." Henry agreed and led the way, moving deeper into the dark room. His flashlight scanned the walls and stopped at a large painting hanging there. It was of a black raven, similar to the one mentioned in Thomas Reynolds' journal. Jessie approached the painting. "There's something odd about this. It doesn't feel like a normal painting." She ran her hand across its surface and felt a small gap behind it. Violet was surprised. "Maybe this is where the real key to the iron box is hidden." Benny quickly reached into the gap and pulled out a small key, intricately designed with a raven engraved on the handle. "I found it!" Benny shouted in excitement. Henry took the new key and returned to the old iron box. "Let's try to open it," he suggested. Jessie, Violet, and Benny eagerly watched as Henry gently inserted the key into the lock. It clicked open, revealing a faded map, yellowed notes, and a smaller wooden box inscribed with the words, "Raven's Eye." Violet carefully opened the small wooden box to reveal a shimmering black gemstone under the flashlight's glow. "We found the gemstone!" she exclaimed with excitement. But the group's joy was short-lived, as heavy footsteps suddenly echoed from the hallway outside. The room's door creaked open, and a shadowy figure appeared in the dim light. "You really did find the Raven's Eye," the man said in a deep voice. It was an old man with silver hair and mysterious eyes. "I am James Reynolds, the one who wrote the letter." Benny stepped back, but Henry stood confidently. "Are you the one who called us here? What is this gemstone?" James Reynolds approached slowly. "It is a valuable but dangerous stone. It was stolen from our family years ago, bringing trouble to anyone who tried to possess it." Jessie asked, "So why did you want us to find it?" James replied, "Because I needed people with pure hearts, untempted by greed. You've proven yourselves worthy to keep the gemstone safe." Henry eyed James cautiously. "So what should we do with it now?" James Reynolds smiled. "We must find a way to destroy it, to free our family from the curse it carries." The four Alden siblings were astonished, realizing that their journey had only just begun. The curse of the Raven's Eye. The room seemed to grow colder as James mentioned the curse of the Raven's Eye gemstone. The four Alden siblings were stunned, their eyes fixed on him, a mix of surprise and concern evident in their expressions. Benny shuddered slightly. "A curse? Is there really a curse?" James nodded, his voice grave. "According to legend, this stone brings darkness to anyone who possesses it out of greed. Many have tried to claim it, but all met dreadful ends. The stone must be destroyed to end this cycle of tragedy." Violet asked quietly, "But how can we destroy such a gemstone?" James gazed into Violet's eyes, then pointed to the old map inside the iron box. "This map will lead you to a secret location deep within the forest. There you will find an ancient temple, built centuries ago to seal the power of the stone. Only there can it be destroyed." Jessie furrowed her brow in thought. "So we have to take the stone to that temple? Is it dangerous?" James sighed. "Yes, the journey won't be easy. The temple is shrouded in thick forest and protected by various challenges. But if the stone isn't destroyed, it will continue to cause unpredictable harm." Henry made a firm decision. "We'll do it. We can't let the curse persist." The group quickly gathered their gear, preparing for the journey deep into the forest to find the ancient temple. As they stepped out of the old house, the sky turned a dark, stormy gray, as if foreshadowing an impending storm. Benny, still a bit fearful but now resolute, said, "If this is a real adventure, then there's no turning back." Jessie smiled encouragingly at her brother. "That's right, Benny. We're a team, and together there's nothing we can't handle." Henry led the way, map in hand, navigating through dense foliage and winding trails. The distant calls of birds and the rustling leaves beneath their feet added to the tension. Suddenly, Violet noticed something. "Henry, look! The symbols on the map match the ones we saw in the secret room." Henry nodded, explaining, "Yes, these symbols seem to be clues to guide us to the temple. If we decode them, we'll find the way." As they pressed on, Benny suddenly heard soft footsteps behind them. "Someone is following us," he whispered. Jessie and Henry stopped, turning to peer into the dark forest behind them, but it was only the eerie stillness of the deep woods. "It's probably just your imagination, Benny," Jessie reassured. Yet, a lingering unease enveloped them. It seemed they weren't the only ones seeking the temple. Someone, or something, was silently tracking their every move. Could it be enemies after the gemstone, or simply the darkness of the forest playing tricks on their minds? Uncertain of the trials ahead, but filled with determination and courage, the four Alden siblings continued forward, stepping into a new chapter of mystery and danger. The challenges of the ancient temple. After hours of trudging through the dense forest, the Alden siblings finally reached a clearing where the ancient temple lay hidden beneath towering trees. The temple appeared eerie, with moss-covered stone walls and ancient carvings. The air was strangely still, with only the wind whispering through the surrounding trees. Benny, though excited, was also a bit scared. "We've made it, but this temple looks terrifying." Jessie comforted him with a smile. "Don't worry, Benny. We've come this far, and nothing can stop us now." Henry, holding the old map, said, "According to the notes, the temple has 3 challenges we must overcome to reach the heart of the temple and destroy the Raven's Eye." Violet looked towards the temple's entrance. "What are those challenges, Henry?" Henry studied the symbols on the map and explained. "The first challenge is wisdom, the second is courage, and the final one is a pure heart." Benny was curious. Why would a stone need 3 challenges like that to be destroyed? Jessie replied seriously, "It's not just the stone, it's the dangerous power it holds. The temple was designed to ensure that only those with wisdom, courage, and a pure heart could approach it." The group entered the temple, stepping into a large room filled with massive stone pillars. At the center of the room was a stone tablet inscribed with ancient writing. "To the wise one, solve this riddle. I have wings but do not fly. I have a mouth but do not speak. What am I?" Jessie thought for a moment, then smiled. "It's a river. A river has flowing currents that resemble wings, and its mouth is where it begins or ends." As soon as Jessie answered, a door behind the stone tablet opened, leading to the second challenge. Benny cheered. "We did it, Jessie. You're brilliant." The second challenge took place in a dimly lit chamber with a narrow wooden bridge over a deep chasm. Eerie sounds echoed from below, creating a chilling sense of dread. Henry stepped forward, resolute. "This is the test of courage. We must cross the bridge to continue." Benny's legs trembled, but Violet held his hand tightly. "You don't have to be scared. We'll cross it together." Holding hands, the group slowly crossed the fragile bridge. Despite the unnerving sounds that seemed to pull them down, they managed to safely make it across with courage and determination. The next room held the final challenge, a pure heart. At the center of the room was a large chest, above which stood a statue of a raven with glowing eyes. A voice emerged from the statue. "Prove your pure heart. Surrender the gemstone without a trace of greed." Jessie placed the raven's eye on the chest, her eyes filled with resolve. "We didn't come here to claim its power, but to rid the world of it," she declared. As soon as Jessie spoke, the raven statue began to crack. The gemstone emitted a blinding light and then shattered into thousands of fragments. A warm, radiant light spread throughout the room, filling the space with peace and warmth. Henry smiled with relief. "We did it. The Raven's Eye has been destroyed." Violet hugged Benny joyfully. The curse is finally lifted. The 4 Alden siblings looked at one another, feeling a deep sense of pride for completing their mission. But their journey was far from over, as countless other mysteries still awaited them in the world ahead. New mystery within reach. After destroying the Raven's Eye Stone and freeing the temple from its curse, the 4 Alden siblings felt more relieved than ever. They decided to return to Mr. James Reynolds' old house to recount what had happened. On their way back, Henry stopped in his tracks when he saw a strange object lying in the middle of the road. It was an old notebook with a torn leather cover and yellowed pages inside. "Guys, look at this," he said. Jesse picked up the notebook and began reading. "This book records undiscovered secrets, and it seems to belong to great-grandfather Thomas Reynolds." Benny, with enthusiasm, exclaimed, "So, there are more mysteries to uncover? We have to keep decoding them." Violet flipped to a new page and found another map with faded handwritten notes. The Reynolds family's treasure still exists, hidden deep within the dark forest. Henry looked up, his eyes filled with excitement but also caution. Perhaps great-grandfather Thomas left more clues to find the true treasure of the Reynolds family. Jesse, thoughtful, said, "But this time we must be very careful. Treasures often come with dangers, and not every mystery is easily solved." Benny, ever eager, stood up with his usual enthusiasm. "I'm not afraid of danger. We did it once. We can succeed again." The group decided to return to Mr. James' house to seek his advice before embarking on a new journey. As they stepped through the door of the old house, Mr. James was waiting, his eyes kind yet filled with mystery. "I knew you would find the notebook," Mr. James said. "This is the next step in our family's journey. But this time, it will be much harder, as the dark forest holds challenges beyond human imagination." Violet, with a hint of worry, asked, "Is there anyone we can trust to help us, sir?" Mr. James smiled. "Of course. In the dark forest, there's a secret keeper named Alaric, a seasoned adventurer. He's the only one who can lead you to the treasure's location." Jesse, hesitant, asked, "Can we really trust him?" Mr. James nodded firmly. "Alaric is a reliable friend of our family, but he is also strict. You must prove your courage and cleverness to earn his help." Henry, with determination, said, "We are ready to face any challenge to protect our family's treasure." Violet gently asked, "Will this treasure be as dangerous as the Raven's eye stone?" James paused thoughtfully before replying, "The family treasure isn't merely material wealth. It holds significant meaning. If it is not found and protected, the Reynolds family may never have peace." Benny, feeling a surge of excitement, declared, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's set off right now." Once again, the group prepared their gear, not just with excitement, but with a stronger resolve than ever. They knew the upcoming journey would be filled with dangers, but with courage, wisdom, and family bonds, they believed they could overcome anything. With the map in hand and Mr. James's guidance, the four Alden siblings stepped out of the old house, ready to embark on a new adventure filled with challenges and mysteries in the dark forest. Will they be able to uncover the final secret and bring peace to the Reynolds family? If you're curious about the story, hit the subscribe button on TMY Stories. First steps into the dark forest. With determination and excitement, the four Alden siblings began their journey into the dark forest. This forest was known as a mysterious and perilous place, with dense foliage blocking out sunlight and winding paths like a maze. "I've never seen such a dark forest before," Violet whispered, her eyes filled with worry as she looked around. Jessie held her sister's hand tightly. "Don't worry, Violet, we're well prepared. Let's keep moving." Henry led the way, eyes focused on the old map Mr. James had given them. The map clearly indicated that they needed to find a large rocky mountain in the forest, which was said to be the entrance to meet Alaric, the secret keeper of the forest. Benny, ever curious, constantly looked around for any signs of Alaric. "I heard he's a very skilled explorer. Will he help us find the treasure?" Henry smiled lightly. "Let's hope so, Benny, but we have to prove we deserve his help." After walking in tense silence for a while, they finally reached the large rocky mountain marked on the map. In the center was a massive cave entrance, engraved with ancient symbols. Jesse said, "This must be where we meet Alaric. Let's try calling for him." Henry stood at the cave entrance and shouted, "Alaric, we are the Alden siblings, here to seek your help in finding the Reynolds family treasure." Silence enveloped everything, but then a deep voice echoed from within. "If you are worthy, step inside." Benny, excited, said, "That's it, we're allowed to enter." The four siblings stepped into the dark cave. Inside was a vast space, dimly lit by old torches on the walls. In the center of the cave stood an elderly man with silver hair and sharp eyes. It was Alaric. Alaric studied each child carefully, his voice resonant. "You understand that this journey is not just about material treasure, right? It's about your family's heritage and protecting the sacred legacy passed down for generations." Jesse replied with determination. "We understand. We're not seeking treasure out of greed, but to protect our family and put an end to its dangers." Alaric smiled. "Then let's begin my challenge. If you pass, I will lead you to the family's treasure." Benny, curious, asked, "What's the challenge, Mr. Alaric?" Alaric pointed to a large stone table where 3 stone lions stood, Before each lion was a small chest. Each chest contains a piece of the key to the treasure. But only by solving the accompanying riddles can you unlock the chests. Henry started with the first chest, where a plaque read, "I am something that can bring happiness but cannot be bought." What am I? Henry thought for a moment, then answered, "Love." As soon as he answered, the chest clicked open, revealing a piece of the key. Jesse approached the second chest and read the riddle, "I am something that can be kept but never seen. What am I?" Jesse smiled and promptly answered, "Memories." The second chest also opened, revealing another piece of the key. Only one chest remained. Benny stepped up to the third chest, a bit nervous, but read the riddle aloud. "I am something the more you give, the more you receive. What am I?" Benny thought for a while, then answered, "Kindness." Immediately the chest opened, and the final piece of the key appeared before them. Alaric smiled, his voice filled with satisfaction. "You have passed the challenge. Assemble the pieces to unlock the final door leading to the treasure." The group pieced together the key, creating a complete key. They looked at each other with excitement and moved towards the final door. The Reynolds family treasure. With the complete key in hand, the 4 Alden siblings stood before a massive stone door. It was the final gateway, leading to the mysterious treasure of the Reynolds family. Torchlight flickered against the ancient carvings on the door, creating a sense of reverence and sanctity. "This could be the most important moment of our journey," Jessie said, her eyes gleaming. Henry carefully inserted the key into the lock. As he turned it, the door creaked loudly and slowly began to open. A burst of bright light poured out from within, causing everyone to squint at the sudden brightness. Benny exclaimed with excitement, "We've reached the treasure. It must be enormous." As the door fully opened, they saw a vast room with high ceilings and walls adorned with ancient paintings depicting the history of the Reynolds family. At the center of the room was a large wooden treasure chest, intricately carved with elegant designs. Violet approached the treasure chest, feeling a mix of anticipation and excitement. Maybe this is what we've been searching for throughout our journey. Henry touched the chest's lid and gently opened it. Inside, not only were there glittering gold and jewels, but also ancient books and a carefully sealed letter. Jessie picked up the letter and read aloud. "To the worthy heirs, if you are reading this, it means that our family has reclaimed the true treasure. This is not merely about jewels, but the knowledge and wisdom accumulated over generations. It is the most valuable legacy of our family, aimed at upholding justice and protecting the vulnerable. I trust that you will use this power for good, to make this world a better place. Thomas Reynolds." Jessie, moved, said with shining eyes, "So the true treasure isn't just about wealth, but the knowledge and values of our family." Alaric stepped into the room, smiling with satisfaction. "You have found the most important aspect of your family, integrity and kindness. Now this treasure belongs to you, and it is your duty to pass it down to the next generation." Benny, looking at the ancient books with excitement, exclaimed, "I didn't expect the treasure to include books, but I like it because I want to learn new things." Henry placed a hand on his brother's shoulder, his voice sincere. "We won't keep this treasure just for ourselves. We will use it to help those around us." Violet smiled warmly. "We've fulfilled our mission, but our journey is certainly not over. There are still more mysteries waiting for us." Jessie, filled with pride, looked around the room. "Yes, this is just the beginning. The Alden family is always ready for the adventures ahead." The group bowed in gratitude to Alaric for his guidance. Alaric nodded gently. "I believe you will use this power wisely. Bring light to the world, just as the Reynolds family once did." As the 4 siblings left the ancient temple, they felt a complete happiness and a deeper bond than ever before. Each of them understood that, while the treasure was valuable, it was love and unity that were the true strengths of the Alden family. The journey home, after finding the true treasure of the Reynolds family, the 4 Alden siblings decided to return home. They packed the ancient books, Thomas Reynolds' letter, and other important items to take with them. The group felt happy to have completed such a meaningful adventure. Jessie smiled, looking toward the path leading out of the dark forest. "We'll come back here one day, but now it's time to go home and share what we've found with Grandpa." Henry led the way, map in hand, his heart full of pride. "We haven't just protected the Reynolds family legacy, we've also learned so much about courage, wisdom, and unity." Benny skipped happily, his voice filled with excitement. "And I wasn't afraid at all during this whole adventure. I was very brave, wasn't I?" Violet chuckled. "Yes, Benny. You were very brave and helped us overcome many tough challenges." As the sun began to set, the 4 siblings finally emerged from the dark forest. The familiar roads and green fields before them brought a sense of relief. They knew this journey had helped them grow and bond more than ever. When they reached home, Grandpa was already waiting at the door, a bright smile on his face. "Welcome back, my little heroes." Jessie ran to hug Grandpa, her voice emotional. "Grandpa, we found the Reynolds family treasure, but it's not just gold and jewels. It's knowledge and the values great-grandfather Thomas left behind." Henry continued. "It was a long and challenging journey, but we made it thanks to our family's unity." Grandpa looked at his grandchildren with pride. "You didn't just find the treasure, you discovered the true value of courage and kindness. I'm very proud of you all." Benny eagerly pulled out one of the ancient books from his bag. "Grandpa, this is one of the important books we found. It's filled with secrets about our family." Grandpa smiled, gently taking the book from Benny. "This is a precious legacy. We will cherish it and pass it on to future generations." The Alden family gathered around the table in their warm home, sharing stories about their extraordinary adventure. They knew that no matter how many more adventures awaited them in the future, family love and courage would always be the foundation that helped them overcome all challenges. As night fell, Jessie, Henry, Violet, and Benny sat around the fireplace, the warm glow reflecting on their happy faces. Benny suddenly asked, "Are there more secrets waiting for us?" Jessie smiled, her eyes filled with hope. "There are always more adventures out there, Benny. Life never runs out of mysteries, and the Alden family will always be ready to explore them." Henry nodded, his voice resolute. "Whenever there's a new mystery, we'll face it together, just like we've always done." Violet softly whispered, "The Alden family will always be a team, no matter where we go or what we encounter." The four siblings looked at each other, feeling a deep joy and pride for having completed such a challenging adventure. They knew that, whether now or in the future, they would always be brave and united explorers. The journey of the Alden family had come to an end, but new adventures were always waiting on the horizon. Thank you for following this heartfelt story, The Mystery of the Black Raven. If this story has left an impression on you, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget, if you love inspiring and meaningful stories like this, hit the subscribe button on TMY Stories to continue this journey with me in the next videos. Also, turn on the notification bell to never miss an update. Once again, thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you in the next stories.